The March 24, 2020 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Ms. Throer, would you read our board motto?
Absolutely. We are the Marion County Leadership Team. If we choose one word to describe us, it would be student-centered, because student success is our mission. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and relevant. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, diverse, and dynamic. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality and clarify expectations, and get better. We do not accept excuses. We will not accept mediocrity. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you. For those listening to the meeting, I request that everyone in the audience please turn off your electronic devices, put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Ms. Suzanne Green, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I recommend approval of the agenda for the March 24th, 2020 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of item C11.1, grant purchasers petition for release of reserved mineral rights through School Board Resolution 20-01 that has been withdrawn completely. Item C16.2, addendum to contract for exchange of real estate, school board with RLR Investments LLC, and that is Winding Oaks, 20 acres. That has been withdrawn completely. And item C15.1, the revised 2020-2021 school board-based staffing plan with the removal of a program specialist and the addition of a coordinator at Silver River Museum, and the addition of a coordinator for student services that has been pulled and placed under discussion.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Throer.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. McCall. All in favor by aye? Aye. Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the February 11, 2020 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall.
Second.
Second by Ms. King. Are there any discussions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the February 20, 2020 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Throer. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Mr. John McGowan, Director of School Counseling and Assessment, is here to provide a presentation on school data updates.
Your mics are moved away, your phones are not near your microphones.
Clicker. Is it not? Here it is.
Here comes another one. Wouldn't work anyway.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent, Reverend Cummings, board members,
Good evening.
Mrs. Martinez Lopez, and Attorney Green. Thank you for having me once again here to present our quarterly update on our L300 schools. This update will review the Q3 QSMA assessments that we just completed prior to spring break. We will review QSMA data as well as attendance and discipline like we do every quarter. We will not review iReady data, as the last results for that we covered for Q2, okay? So we will view this data in two forms. I'm always excited about this presentation because this is one where we have all the data for the entire year that I can present to you all at once. It's very encouraging. I'm excited to provide this to you. This is just for Q3 only. So this is the assessment that we just ended, but it's only that one assessment. You can see we have a lot of green. So the color coordination is for the cohort as we go from 3rd to 4th and 4th to 5th, et cetera. You can see we've made strides in all areas. We do have one hiccup there with 3rd to 4th grade science, but for the most part, you can tell we have some nice gains and some significant. If you look at ELA from 4th to 5th grade, 15-point gain from Q3 assessment last year to this year. The 3rd to 4th grade math went from 49 to 58 from last year's Q3 to this year, so seeing some nice gains. And what's really encouraging is when we look at this slide, and this is what I believe is the most important, because this is all 3 QSMAs this year averaged together. And then we compare that to last year. So all of last year compared to all of this year, and you can see through the color coding our improvements. So some significant, again, 4th to 5th grade ELA, we went up 9 points when all 3 assessments combined from last year to this year. So as we go through each of the 11 schools, you're going to see 2 slides, which I think can be a little confusing. The first slide is what I showed you just previously. That's only Q3. The second slide will be the average, and that'll be the one I review with you tonight, because I think now that we have all the data, that's the one that should be our focus. Okay, so we'll begin with Area 1 schools. So this is just Q3, so I'm going to go to the average. So for Anthony Elementary, a couple of things that I kind of highlighted is when you look at 3rd grade for this school year, they are right at or above their average for last year, so a very strong 3rd grade group coming in. The 4th to 5th grade ELA had an 8-point gain from 45 to 53. One thing I will point out, however, for 5th grade as a whole, although there's a lot of green, which we're showing growth in a lot of different areas, our goal with QSMAs is for, if you're not at the district average, that's our first goal, is to get to that district average. And so you'll notice with 5th grade, even though like ELA and math is green, we're not quite to the district average that we want to be, nor are we at in science. But if you look at all the other areas, we are right there for Anthony Elementary or above the district average. So that's kind of our barometer of where we want to be. And that's, as we go through, I'll give you some examples. Sometimes the color coding can be a little, we have to look through the colors sometimes because they could go up or down, but where are they in relation to the district average?
So, Mr. McGowan, can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
the 3rd grade quarter average is 51, and that cohort is 51 in 4th grade. Is that correct?
That's correct. So under ELA, yes, ma'am. So that current 4th graders scored 51 last year on all 3 QSMAs
And now they've
and
scored-
51 this
okay.
year. Yes, ma'am.
Tell me again why we're not doing the iReady?
We are. It's just I provided that data to you the last time I was here, and we haven't had another administration of it since.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. East Marion Elementary, again, their 4th to 5th grade cohort is gains for all 3 subject areas. Just like with Anthony, their 3rd grade group is a very strong cohort of students coming in, right at the district average. East Marion is a good example because when we look at, for example, math, they had a 4-point gain, so you see the green 41 to 45, but 7 points behind the district average. So obviously, they would like to get a little bit closer to that, but for most of the areas, they are right there at that average. And what I would consider right there was in 5 points, plus or minus either way. We know there's going to be ebbs and flows, but if you're within 5 points, plus or minus in either direction, I would consider that you're right there where we would need to be.
So 5-point margin of error. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's just kind of anecdotal. I mean,
Right.
that's what I would say. Obviously, the goal is to be at
At or above the district?
or above the district average. I kind of view it, might be a bad analogy, but kind of like the stock market. We're going to have
Yeah.
kind of ebbs and flows, but if the overall trend line is going up, right, it's sore subject. But as long as the trend line is going up, which is what our first overall district slide showed, is that we're trending in the right direction.
I wonder what's going on with science, though.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things, and I don't want to go all the way back, but on that first slide when we looked at the district, one of the things, so there's a couple ways to look at the data. One is the cohort, which is how we have it color-coded. But when you look across, that's how in our office we look at how did that, not the students, how did the test perform? And do we notice anything going on? So when you look at, this is East Marion again, so for the overall averages, yeah, their cohort dropped 4 points, but when you look at fourth grade going horizontally, they performed the exact same as they did last year. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the test performed exactly the same. It's just that fluctuation of different cohorts of students.
Okay.
Right. And you can see the same for third grade, 57 and 56. Okay, Evergreen Elementary, some impressive gains for Evergreen Elementary. Their fourth to fifth grade cohort was double digits across the board in every subject area, 18, 16, and 15 respectively. Also had obvious gains in third to fourth grade cohort as well. The one thing I'll mention with Evergreen, last school year in 18-19, of the 9 tested areas, 5 of their 9 areas, they scored in the 30% range. This year, they had 0. Okay, so if we look at our district averages, or mid-50s for all of our assessments, a majority of their cells last year were in the 30s, and now they have none in the 30s. So they've made some dramatic increases, absolutely. One thing I'll notice, and we'll see the same thing with Oakcrest on the other end of that spectrum, is because of where they were so low, they have a large hill to climb. And so although with all these gains, again, we go back to where they're at towards the district average, you can look at ELA. They're 7 points behind, but they went up 18 points. So they had so high to go, but the growth is pretty dramatic at Evergreen, for sure.
I'm curious what their scores were in 2018, so we could have seen it if it compared to 2018.
17-18?
Yeah, 17-18, and seeing their progression. You know, I would, if you can maybe,
Sure.
Yeah.
when you get time,
can
I
do
would like to see what they look like then also.
Email it to us, yeah. I'd like to see it too.
Okay. Okay, Pheasant Elementary, so their averages, they had, again, their fourth to fifth grade ELA had a 15% increase. And this is on the math. You see they went from 37 to 39, so that's kind of where sometimes we have to look beyond the color coding. So yes, it's green, but it's a 2-point increase. But again, look at where they're at to that 52. So obviously, kind of, we don't want any school in the 30 range.
Right.
And so we would obviously like that to be higher for them. But for the most part, even with their, like with their science, yeah, they dropped 4 points, but it's still within that range of the district average. Okay, Oakcrest Elementary. If you look at their third grade, very strong, as some of like Anthony and East Marion, so they are at or above the district average for that third grade group coming in. You also see some, especially the fourth to fifth grade group, some nice increases there. They are in the same situation as Evergreen that we just talked about, so they had such a hill to climb, although they're making great progress. Not quite where we want them to be in terms of the district average, but we know that that's coming. To kind of compare it to Evergreen, last year, out of their 9 areas, 4 of their 9 were in the 30s, and they brought that down to 1 for this year. So making improvements as well. Okay, Reddick Collier Elementary. Reddick is a good example of, again, even with a couple of the decreases, when you look at ELA and science, even though it's a decrease, they're right there at the district average. And we got to remember, some of these schools, from what they did last year, performance-wise on their school grade, remember Reddick went up 2 letter grades. That is a lot of growth. And the one thing we know about a lot of growth is that is very difficult to maintain. And so when you look at third grade last year for science, they were in the 60s. So yeah, it's yellow, But it's still, so yes, it dropped, but it dropped to basically the district average. So it's kind of all relative to kind of where they were.
Yeah, and that school changed also. The, there's a hub there, and so
Right.
there was change in the demographics. of
Different
that class.
demographic of the kids, yeah.
Right, so that needs to be taken in consideration also.
Yes, ma'am.
They got them rolling now, but it's.
Okay, Waimea Park, a highlight there for them is ELA in both areas. They improved. The fifth grade group went up 12 points from last year. One area of concern there would be in the fifth grade math. They did drop only 1 point, but 10 points behind the district average. But their fourth grade cohort went up 9 points. And then another nice increase of 7 points for fifth grade science. Okay, area 2, we'll start with Bellevue Elementary. And if you recall from my previous presentations, we've seen some really solid data coming from Bellevue Elementary all year, and that certainly continued for quarter 3. Again, this is an average of all 3, but you'll notice that that increases across the board except for science. For fourth grade, it stayed the same. But when you compare their scores to the district average, they're either right there or in a couple areas above the average. So they're maintaining what they've been doing all year. Okay, Emerald Shores. So Emerald Shores you can tell, obviously, third to fourth grade did decline in all 3 subject areas to some degree. The most severe was in science. The ELA and math was a couple of percentage points. They did increase in their fifth grade cohort across the board. Again, we would like to see it a little bit closer to the district average in all aspects, even with those that they made a gain. We are seeing a little bit with the fourth to fifth grade math of, even though there's improvement over last year, not quite to the district average, and I would say that would apply to most of our L300 schools. Greenway Elementary. Greenway is a good example of what we were talking about before in regards to the color coding, because when you look at this, you say, well, I want to see more green, and obviously we do. We see green with the fifth grade ELA, but when you look at even the drops aren't that significant percentage-wise, 1, 2, 3 percentage points. But what did they drop to? And in most cases, they're dropping just to, again, right around the district average. So even though it's yellow indicating a decline, they're still right where we'd like for them to be at that district average.
Except in math.
Except in math, yes, for fifth grade math. They're 6 points below there. And the last school for in Area 3 is College Park. So with College Park, obviously gains in ELA for both cohorts. In math, they did have a 3-point drop, but again, within that range for being at the district average for fifth grade. We would like to see it be a little closer for fourth grade science towards the 56, but overall kind of maintaining where they were as well. I would say if there was a area of concern for College Park, it would be in science, because in all 3 grade levels they are behind the district average in science, but maintaining where they were for ELA and math, if not improving. Okay, so quickly through the same schools for attendance and discipline. So we'll begin with Anthony Elementary, and there's only one slide for each school for when we go to attendance and discipline. Attendance did drop by 1 percentage point. They had an increase in referrals by 16 referrals from 121 to 137. East Marion Elementary, their attendance did drop 2 percentage points. They did have an increase in referrals of 158 referrals from this. Now, this is not cumulative, so this is a little different from the assessment data. This is not all year, this is just third quarter. Okay, so from third quarter last year to third quarter this year, they did have a increase of 158 referrals. Evergreen Elementary had an increase in attendance by 3 percentage points from third quarter last year to this year, and a reduction by 25 referrals for quarter 3. Pheasant Elementary had a 1 percentage point decline in attendance, and they reduced their number of referrals by 37 referrals. Oakcrest Elementary had a slight increase in their attendance, and they reduced their referrals by 139 for quarter 3 last year to this year. Reddick Collier had a 1 percentage point decline in attendance, and their referrals did increase by 77 last year to this year. Waimea Park had essentially their attendance remained the same, and they had a reduction of 55 referrals for quarter 3. Bellevue Elementary, attendance virtually stayed the same. Their discipline increased by 4 referrals. Emerald Shores had a 1 percentage point decline in attendance and a reduction of referrals of 111. Greenway Elementary, a 1 percentage point decline in attendance and a reduction of 5 referrals. And finally, College Park, attendance stayed the same and a reduction of 163 referrals for quarter 3. So as a whole, we're certainly seeing, I mean, it's very encouraging, and when we have all the data put together now, because now we are done administering QSMAs for the year. We now have multiple years of data under our belt with QSMAs. We know that they are, like I've mentioned before, reliable assessments. The first slide I showed you, what would be really concerning is if we saw numbers all over the place from year to year, but we're not. We're seeing them maybe change 1 or 2 percentage points, and that lets us know that they're reliable. We can count on them, year after year. And so, it is disappointing. Obviously, we won't be able to see how that translates to the state assessments this year. But we know that they were in good shape heading into that. All of the subject areas, except for that one cohort, was performing better than last year, so they're definitely on the right track. Any other questions for me?
Well, I was going to bring this up during my comments, and with your permission, Chairman, it seems like it fits to discuss it now, and you're here, which I think is also important to what I'd like to put out there. So if it's okay with you, all right. And then give you all a second to get it. And this has to do with Evergreen and yes, it has to do with Evergreen and Oakcrest, because they're not going to get a school grade this year. And so, that being said, I'll just wait till you all have it. But what I handed out to you is the Florida Department of Education's question and answer and guidance with everything we have going on. And I'll call your attention to the title. The purpose of this document is to provide additional guidance and clarification due to the COVID-19 closures. And then it goes on to say in the last sentence, Commissioner Corcoran has made it clear that all decisions are being made with compassion and grace at the forefront. And I think that's very important, because if you flip over, and I did it front and back to save on paper, and go down to where I have highlighted in green, number 7 and 8, it says with the cancellation of assessments and school grades not being calculated, and it goes on to say that in 2021, schools will continue their current turnaround status and tier of support from the 2020 school year. And then further, it says in number 8, will districts have to submit another turnaround plan? And then it says schools will continue to implement their state board approved plan. However, any requested changes to a plan must be submitted to the Bureau of School Improvement, and that's where it got cut off, for consideration of approval by the State Board of Education. So what that tells me is that we have an opportunity here, perhaps, that if we submit a plan to, the data speaks for itself for Evergreen and Oakcrest.
We're working on that.
Okay, and it's very impressive. And why I'm bringing that to your attention is because this year has been building on the success of the previous year, with Principal Livingston and Principal Leinenbach. Now we have Ms. Kemp and Ms. Bayless that are both proven turnaround principals that have obviously gotten to work and are making it happen. So why wouldn't we use this opportunity to give them a chance to sail and get the heck out of their way? I think that'll go a long way towards keeping the teachers, for them to know sooner than later that the leadership team is going to stay there, that they're being acknowledged, and let's go for it. So I think I just heard you say that maybe we're of the same mind, and you had something in mind that you're thinking about.
Yes, and for the purposes of tonight's meeting, we're working on it.
That's really great to hear, because it will save us $570,000. And I'm sure that money could go to better use in other things. Clearly, we've got the teams in place there, and these are unusual circumstances. And to me, it has merit to look at the data that we have, and let's roll.
And even more than just the data, we're building out a plan to even strengthen our proposal.
So, Mr. McGowan, in your expertise, I guess we can look at this kind of like an early summer vacation, but what will be, because there will be some trauma with children involved from all this isolation and not being able to play, and it's very different than a summer vacation. What would be the expectation of how far behind will these children actually get, and how long will it take to bring them back up? And I think we do have to look at, there will be some trauma with some of our kids that are in these turnaround schools simply because of the situations that they're in. So just your opinion?
Yeah, and I would say to that point, in all schools.
Yes.
And, not just our turnaround schools, and I agree, and I think one of, in my, department is one small piece of the puzzle, but I know that in our department, what we're striving to do is to, once students return, to keep it as normal as possible. And we know they won't have state assessments that we can have that data back. However, we have our QSMA data, and we have our iReady data, and we have all other progress monitoring data, and so that's even more valuable than ever, because this is all the schools are going to have. So we're going to encourage schools that as soon as students get back on campus to use this data. We have review periods where teachers can go back through the assessment with students to, look at those questions they missed and reteach and those types of things, and to continue teaching, obviously, once they're back through the end of the year. And it's, yes, we won't have the state assessments, but on the other side of that coin, now we have that time back in May to continue teaching. And so I think that's valuable. On the aspect of our students' well-being, the other hat that I wear in our department is on the mental health and school counseling side, and our team is working hard to put a lot of resources together. Just like our curriculum teams have done it for the academic side, we're doing it for the mental health side. We're putting we're putting it to where we're going to be able to have our school counselors still have conversations with kids at home virtually, and so we're working on some things like that we'll push out. But we certainly understand. I can speak for myself with two at home. And by the time April 15th gets here, that will only increase, as we know, and so that is something we're looking at as well. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I just want to all be very cognitive of the fact that it's not going to be school as usual when these children get back into the classrooms. So, thank you.
Kind of reminds me of when we had a lot of time out during those hurricane years, and even the toughest kids were saying, "Miss, we've been missing a lot of school." Everybody likes their routine.
How long have they been out now?
2 weeks. Well, this is the second
A week
week,
and 2 days, a week and a day.
starting the second week.
But back in the early 90s, when they were doing when they were doing year-round school, these kids would be out a month, go to school 3 months, be out a month, go to school 3 months. That's what I didn't like
Kids are
about
pretty
it.
resilient.
Yeah, I was going to use that one.
That's what I didn't like about
Adults
it.
struggle, but the kids.
And
So-
I think that I'm not an expert on this, but
But they've done it
the
nationwide.
additional factor being added here is those potential parents that are home because of their work situation that normally they would not be or whatever. I think that adds another layer there for sure, positive or negative, but certainly adding to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll really, if they come back around the 15th,
16.
then 16th, then they would have been out basically a month, right? Approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right around
yeah.
there.
With
Spring break,
support.
yeah.
With support.
With support,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
great support, by the way.
Kids will bounce back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comments?
I'm wondering what you guys think of what I just laid out.
No.
No,
we-
I-
A
you are
complete
spot
agreement,
on.
right on it.
Yeah.
You're right on it,
You are spot on.
right on it. That makes
Really?
complete sense.
Done their thing.
Yeah. And thank you, Mr. McGowan,
You're welcome.
for this presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I'll provide the 17-18 data as well.
Yeah, it would
Thank
be
you.
interesting.
Yeah, that would be
to
interesting.
really look at that.
Because obviously what that shows is there's been steps every year. They've been increasing every year. And I think this year, if this atmosphere wasn't going on, we would have saw the results of all the steps from the previous years with this one on top of it. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McGowan. And before you leave, everybody needs to know that this data just came in. We just, and his team worked to get it done for today's meeting, and you gave me a rough draft this morning. We met as rough draft. So they worked really hard to pull this
Thank you.
together for tonight.
Please let your staff, your team know
I will.
that we appreciate it, especially with everything that's going on and spring break and everything. So we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
y'all done a really good job, because this has been like the total, like, we hear about the blind leading the blind. It's like, because nobody's known what to do. It's like, well, we'll just call Orange County, and they'll say, well, we'll call Duval County, it's been so crazy, but somehow y'all kept going forward, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Glenn.
Yeah.
I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address school board tonight.
In compliance with Section 286.0114 Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available outside. Public speaker forms are also available outside. The completed forms were due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your name, full name and address for the record, and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to others. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. No verbal attacks and profanity are allowed. Pursuant to the procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students or their families is also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers?
Yes, I have 2. Melanie Slaughter. Good evening, Melanie Slaughter, Slaughter. My address is 4525 Southeast 12th Avenue, Ocala, Florida 34480. I am here not on behalf of my own children who are going to be fine in virtual reality, but I'm concerned about a lot of students at Vanguard, especially the ones that my son played football with. They have a very difficult time because of their financial situation and their economic instability in getting things done at school. And Coach Farmer was very good about having academic huddle every Thursday, and my son was there with other students to help tutor the children and get them where they needed to be academically. And even though he had that available, a lot of them did not take advantage of it. And so I would request that the school board consider bringing the Wi-Fi to them. Getting a bus is what I would suggest that has Wi-Fi capabilities, having that go to the school. At Vanguard, a lot of the kids walk to school, and if there was a bus there with Wi-Fi, that they could go and get access to Chromebooks or other devices to get on the internet and do their lessons. I don't know about the other kids, but I know the football kids like doing stuff together. If their friend's going, they'll go. If their friend's going to go try to get some work done, they'll do it too. And if the bus drivers are stressed about, are they going to have a job or not, especially the ones that have just started being bus drivers. And this would give them an opportunity to keep employed, to keep having a salary, because they could drive the bus to school every day and give kids, maybe not every single kid, but give kids an opportunity to go to the buses, get on the Wi-Fi, and get the virtual lessons done when you get that started. I'm not sure how long it's going to be that they're not going to have access, but it's not feasible for the district to pay for Wi-Fi in every kid's house. It's not feasible to have a fast-speed internet connection in every child's house. It's not feasible to give a Chromebook to every child in Marion County that doesn't have one. But if you have them in a bus where you have 10 Chromebooks that are available that can be wiped down for every child, and they have an opportunity to go there and get on the internet and get their lessons done, then they have opportunities to get things done. And hopefully at some point they'll be able to go back to school and they'll be able to have live instruction, which is obviously what everybody wants, but we just don't know. And so I don't want these kids, especially the kids that I'm close to, their parents and the children that my son played football with all year, I don't want those kids who really are motivated to graduate because they're involved in sports, they're involved in track, as my son is also, and they want to graduate and they're really want to do well, and they're not going to do it because their parents are worried about feeding these kids and the fact that they've lost their job serving at a restaurant and they don't know when they're going to be employed again. And the last thing they're going to be thinking about is getting their child online and making them do their homework. I mean, it's just not going to happen because they're so stressed out. And I'm going to see Ms. McCall 7:30 in the morning when I'm going to bring food over there for those kids because they need our support. But it's very difficult when you can't feed your kids to worry about educating them. So I'm just asking the board to consider going to the schools, because a lot of kids walk to school or their parents can drive them to school, and giving the schools an opportunity through buses or some other means to provide Wi-Fi for these kids so we can keep them going with my kids, who I'm going to make do it, whether they want to or not, and get everybody graduated and everybody up to the next grade level. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
I'm intrigued a little bit. That's a wonderful idea. So is your suggestion that we put the Wi-Fi on the bus and put 10 kids on, or 8 kids on each bus periodically
Right,
throughout the day?
rotate them every hour, because these bus drivers are stressed about having a job, especially ones that just started. And you're not going to use all your bus drivers to drop off food. So if you're going to drop off the food, leave the bus there, let the bus driver watch the bus, watch the Chromebooks, let the kids get on a Wi-Fi hotspot that they can all get on, and at least they have an opportunity with their friends, with their brothers and sisters, with whoever's going to go get the food.
You're saying do it from the kids sitting on the bus, doing it on the bus?
Yes, sir. And what I'm saying is they can sign up, because a lot of these kids walk to school. So a lot of the kids at Vanguard walk to school. You know, I can get Coach Farmer to get everybody on the football team there one way or the other. Trust me, he will do it. He will make them sign up. But see, the bus drivers are part of the community. So they can talk to families at the school, say, I will be there. You know me. I live in this community. Bring your child down. Let's get this work done. Let's get on for at least an hour and do something so that your child's not behind when school starts back or when they go to the same grade next year. Because that's what community involvement is. It's getting the people that they know. They know the bus driver. They see the bus driver every day. They trust the bus driver. They can leave their kid with the bus driver for an hour and let their kid do some homework while they go look for a job or do something else.
That's a really unique idea.
Outside the box.
I
Outside the
mean,
bus, inside the bus.
is there, I know we've got air-conditioned buses, so we could maybe do this on one of our air-conditioned buses, and
That's what I was thinking.
my initial concern was it really is, because I've been very concerned, especially at our secondary level, how some of these kids are going to be able to get on the internet, and what do they have to even do their lessons. So, I don't know, Dr. Mayer, is it something we can look at? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is really novel, and I applaud you for coming up with that idea.
You can thank my 15-year-old son for the internet.
Well, thank him, because, I mean, if we can get it to work, I mean, if it works at Vanguard, why can we not do this at some of the community centers in our four corners that
East
we
Marion,
know,
You can't even get on a cell
that
phone
we,
out of East Marion.
that we know these kids are not going to be able to get on. I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's feasible, but it sure is worth looking into.
think-
Great idea.
I think as a district, as a board, we need to explore the idea and see how feasible it is. It sounds like a wonderful idea, and that is thinking outside of
Yeah,
the box.
totally.
And we're gonna be hearing from you.
I mean,
Thanks,
we
Ms.
have
Lauren.
Chromebooks.
Yes.
We have the ability to get the hotspots. I mean, it's,
And I even like, I love that idea, but I was like, we could even maybe, if they had it like a tent, they don't even have to be on the bus
They don't.
necessarily.
They
They could
can
even
go-
be
they can be
outside.
around
It's
it,
spring.
right.
Yeah, be around
Florida
it.
right now, and
Yeah.
they could even be out there, and
Great idea.
thank you for bringing that to
Oh, no problem.
us.
Thank you all. I'm
Thank your
sorry you
son.
guys have had all this thrust on you, but good luck. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lauren.
Process, thank you. Think inside the bus.
Mark Avery?
I love that idea.
There's more ideas out there.
There's a
We're
lot.
about to become very creative.
Yeah, good.
One thing a crisis will do.
That's exactly right. Mr. Avery.
Good evening. My name is Mark Avery, A-V-E-R-Y. I reside at 3 Diamond Ridge Way, Ocala, Florida, 34472, and I'm the president of the Marion Education Association. I don't know how I can top that because that's a great idea, and again, thinking outside the box. And that's kind of my idea tonight is just that I wanted to come back and tell you, I know last week I said that maybe we weren't working as well as we could be, and this week has been better. We've met every day this week so far and had a discussion and tried to come forward with some plans. We're planning to do that the remainder of the week. And it's going to take some outside the box thinking because we come up with one idea and then we have a loophole for another. I think the only issue we have against us right now is time, that we didn't start till this week, and had we, maybe we'd start earlier. And I would say, we've bargained the entire last year to do a contract that's already written with ideas already there, and it took us a whole year to do that. And we're trying to do something totally new and unique and different within a week. So since I'm on TV, I would tell all my members to please be patient. I know that you've been asking me questions and asking the district questions, and some of these decisions are being made daily, and that goes for everybody around us. I mean, the governor sent a memorandum today about giving out devices and different CDC rules and follow this and do that. So those things are changing daily too. I got a text on the way over here from my wife that said Orange County now closed. So, I mean, we know things are changing as we walk down the street, basically. So, the county, Orange County, her text message said that Orange County is now on lockdown like some of the other areas. So that's the text from my wife, so hopefully she was accurate. So I'm not the CNN guy. And Alachua is too. Their schools, their public schools currently are on spring break this week, so that may give them a little bit of time. But last week, when we were on spring break, so we're like 45 other districts. So we're not alone in this, trying to come up, and everybody has a little bit different situation. I know we talk, again, like I said, every day, the presidents across the state are talking, and FEA is sharing information about what they're doing in different districts and how they're handling this, and every situation is different, and every situation is unique, and there's lots of different ideas. And I think our other number one thing has to be the safety for our employees moving forward. Whatever we do as we try to do this is safety for you guys and our employees and the students and all that are involved in this. So mainly I need to be here, and so you can see me and people know that we're working together.
Thank you.
Can we talk about this now, or can we wait? Should we wait till the end? I was going to address some concerns that I'm hearing at the end, but since we're here and maybe we can all talk and get on the same page, I hear a lot of concerns, for the families that have children or families that have sick loved ones that may be having cancer or asthma or, heart issues, elderly parents. As a district, I hope that we are being I don't know what the word is, sensitive maybe, considerate and taking care of our own. And by taking care of our own, we're also taking care of our community at this trying and unprecedented time. And I've heard different scenarios. Everyone has their own, and then others, it doesn't faze them. They're like, okay, I need to go to a school or a classroom or the building. But this is a virus that we don't see, and you don't even necessarily know you're ill until you've exposed others to that. So I don't know what you guys have planned or decided. Personally, as a board member, I hope that we're taking all of that in consideration. And let's face it, all of our employees, well, I say all, we'll just say teachers, principals, administrators and stuff, they spend a lot of time working at home regardless. And I think with our bus drivers or our paras, or there's other ways for us to be creative right now to make sure that they could maybe find a way to stay at home and work. Maybe they could call, or there's different scenarios for us to be creative, just like we heard Ms. Slaughter earlier. But for us to be in that box and feel like we have to have all of our employees working in a school or in a building to get paid at this point in time, I'm not sure that's necessarily being smart at this point for various reasons. So that's my thoughts on that. I don't know if you guys have heard anything from our employees, but it's a concern, and it's a valid concern. They're not being whiny, they're not being petty, and I'll tell you, our employees, they step up to the plate constantly. They are always stepping up to the plate, and for us to confine them to certain things that we're placing on them and requiring of them at this point, I'm not sure that we're being fair and doing our job.
So I'm going to put on my manager's hat for a couple of minutes, because I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree that we have employees that possibly are in compromised situations, either with elderly parents or their own health situations. What we don't want to do is begin to set a precedent of somebody just letting us know that they have a compromised health issue. I think whatever we do with this, we have to look at what type of documentation can we obtain. If they have a compromised health issue, we need documentation from their physician that says they do, because there are people out there that would take advantage. And so I just want to be sure, I know there are some that are compromised, but we need to be sure that we are doing our due diligence in making sure that the documentation is in place in order for us to make arrangements for them during this time. So that would be my caution, is that we need to be sure that we have factual documentation as we look at each of these individual situations.
Okay, and I'm going to also present this idea, and and this will happen with teachers or families or employees, and if you do not have leave and you have a sniffle or a cough, and you're like, maybe I'm ill or maybe I'm not, it could be allergies, and you go to the school or the building and expose everybody because you need that paycheck and you can't prove anything at that moment, or you have to wait a week, or you can't get in with the doctor to get that documentation, I think we could be putting our employees at risk. And I think we could be putting our employees in compromised situations at the same time. I'm not saying to do this forever. I'm just saying for right now, we don't have children in our schools. Let's really think about this, consider what we're asking of our employees, and be considerate and sensitive to this situation right now. Those are my thoughts and my opinions, and also what I am hearing from our community.
Well, and one of the things that we can do, I know with my staff at the Children's Alliance, they have to send me daily what their work schedule is. Some of them are Kids Central's employees as well, and they are required to work remotely. So they are required to send me daily what their work schedule is, so that I know that they may be working remotely, but I know what they're working on, and then I follow up with them the next day to say, let me know how your day went and what were you able to accomplish. So there's ways to do it where you know that they are working, but we also have to protect the district.
We do need to protect. And also, you know what, kudos to our staff, our employees, because they've already been working. Like over spring break, they weren't off, they were setting up Blooms. I've never even heard of Blooms, you know, getting in contact with their students. They've been calling, they've been doing their dojo. I mean, they're creative and they're working. For us to doubt that, or not doubt it, I'm so happy and I'm so grateful to live in this district where we have such a caring and compassionate community that look for the best in our children.
And it's not doubting anybody, Kelly. I'm just thinking that part of our responsibility as policy and fiduciary respondents is that we have to be sure that we're doing the right things to protect the district as well.
Correct, and I agree.
And those just sound like making sure that we have some checks and balances
Yes.
in
without
place.
any doubt.
I don't want us to put any staff or any kids in jeopardy of getting infected or reinfected or whatever, anything like that. And it does kind of open up, like you were saying, Ms. King, to continued exposure. We don't know. I think we have to work with faithfulness and trust with the collective bargaining units to come up with a great solution. And whether that solution be that they're coming to work or whether that be they're working virtually. If they're working virtually, there has to be some serious protocols and checks and balances in place to make sure that the work is, not that I doubt they will get it done, but we're still going to be held accountable.
Right, we are.
We're still going to be held
And
accountable.
also talking about the safety issue, I know for certain, because we live in social media society, there are employees that were out of state, on vacation, on airplanes. They were not sitting in home, you know, in their safe space, or what do we want to call it. So again, if they were to return next week, I feel like we're compromising some of our employees who have done, you know, wanted to stay safe and
Well,
where others.
especially if they were in the hot spots where they should
Where there's
self-quarantine for
community
4.
spread. Just because you were on vacation doesn't mean that you are contaminated, and that's where working hand in hand with Mr. Lander comes in very handy.
Right.
As we've checked a few things with him, absolutely, and he's always available. He and Andrea Simmons work very closely together to help us
Good.
with that.
Good.
And Ms. Gary, Dewana Gary, has been also a great help, as she is the person who oversees FMLA. I know she's had some conversations with you, Ms. Dobbins has, and as of this morning, FMLA has totally changed. So there is a webinar Thursday that we are all signed up for. This afternoon, I popped in to sign some paperwork with Ms. Oliver, and they were having a big powwow going over documents and preparing for the FMLA. And it's important also to note that for our teachers, nothing is required yet because we're still in conversation, and you have a big homework packet tonight, right? Yeah, we all do, right? And we'll see you tomorrow again at 1 o'clock, like we've been meeting. So, you know, with the meetings that we have every day, starts the day with the 3 area directors and Mr. McAteer, Ms. Beck. Then it goes to executive directors and directors, then a principal meeting, and this is all Zoom, by the way. And then that's all compiled, and then we meet at 1 o'clock with Mr. Avery, Ms. Merriweather, Ms. Weingart, and Mr. Altabello when he can join us or he calls in. So those conversations are daily and deep. Yeah. So lots of conversation happening.
So I need some clarification. So it is not required that teachers report on the 30th?
We haven't made that plan yet. We're still talking.
It's not, okay, well, I think there's some miscommunication in our district, and it probably needs to be clarified. So just moving forward, you probably need to make sure everyone's on the same page and there's clarification.
They'll be working on the 30th. How that looks, we haven't decided yet.
Okay, well, again, there's miscommunication in our community, so if we can do a better job of explaining.
What that is, like,
Okay.
where is it?
So the miscommunication is that we're still deciding on how your workday will look, whether it be remotely, at home or wherever, or in the building. There's miscommunication, because I know for certain.
That's correct communication, because we are still working on it, and we don't know what that will look like.
Okay, well, I don't want to be argumentative. I'm just telling you, You probably want to make sure that is clear because that message has been sent out to teachers.
Okay, who sent it?
A lot of the principals.
Thank you.
It was widespread this afternoon.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I let.
Okay, all right, so you'll let me
No.
know.
So all of the principals were told that.
They did say that they were coming back on the.
So the message was sent, I'm trying to get clarity. So there was a message that was sent today that told them that they need to report Monday?
It said that they were coming back to work on Monday, and
Okay.
again, we
So,
haven't
so,
determined how
so,
that.
for the record, we expect them to be working Monday, but currently we don't know in what platform, whether it's going to be virtual or on-site.
We decided that grades would be completed on Monday. That was what teachers, so I know that was your question last week, when were grades going to be done? And we technically had a work day yesterday originally, so Monday is the day that teachers are going to complete their grades. That's when, if they do them now, they do them now, but they have to be done by Monday, whether, and we have not decided the other part, how they went in. But after their meetings with the principals shared emails with their staff yesterday, and they pretty much went through their agenda, and then they did the same thing again today. The problem is there's 50-ish principals, and they're all people, and there wasn't the same exact message. And so that today's message did say almost consistently that that they were going back to work on the 30th. So but it didn't say how. Some people did say how, I will tell you that, and again, I've already shared that concern with Dr. Grantham, and so I shared it this afternoon with him right away, and so, that was one of my concerns when I met with him today, is that the message, and he said moving forward, that the message would come from Kevin, so that we could be consistent and not have inconsistencies to share. And I probably even getting the exact same emails or
You are.
very similar emails that you're.
Correct, we are, right, that message is out. Teachers have been told if they don't report on Monday at the school, they have to take their leave of absence or whatever. So there's mixed communication.
Email too, so we can have conversations with that principal.
It's not just one principal, it's our district. Mr. Avery, is there more than one principal that has a misunderstanding about what's happening?
I would say there's more than one principal that shared something that.
Correct.
But I don't.
And
I
you've
can't-
already had the conversation with
Right,
Dr. Grantham?
so that, in general, there was, I would say, I can't say it's just this one or just that one. So
Correct.
So
one
maybe there was
principal
just-
told their staff,
So that message went out there. We're pulling it right now. Everybody's listening. We're pulling that message right now. And we'll wait for a concise message from the district. Will that work?
yes, sir.
And that message will be what's going to go forward. The platform has not been set, whether it's going to be virtual or whether it's going to be in person, but it's still working on it. It's still working on it, brick and mortar.
I feel like what I'm hearing is that you're working towards trying to provide solutions and as much flexibility as possible, especially knowing that we have teachers that have their own children that they're currently homeschooling now. And so if they go back to work in brick and mortar on March 30th and their children don't come back until April 16th, who's going to be educating them? So there is a lot to work through, and it's very encouraging to me, to hear that with what's going on. I think Ms. Slaughter hit the nail on the head. It's all about thinking inside the bus and outside the bus and providing as much flexibility as makes sense and that can be legally done, and we'll get through this, so.
And if the teachers come back and their children are old enough to come, why can't the children just come and bring their studies?
Well,
part of the
again,
discussion that
that's,
we're having.
yeah, that's some, yeah. And we have to also figure, this district is more than just the teachers.
Correct.
We have several collective bargaining units. We have several different job specs that we have to take in consideration. All of those, the bus drivers, the bus aides, the paras, the secretaries, we got to look at all those people. And we're going to have to do what's best for every individual and the kid. We can't just do for one group of people.
And we're not in this boat alone, so other districts, and I know the superintendents are talking on a daily basis, and so there are others that are coming up with creative solutions. So we're not in this boat alone. Everybody is doing this for the very first time.
Right.
So I think I want to give them the opportunity to work with their collective bargaining units and come up with something that's workable it's not going to be workable for everybody. Because
Correct.
there is no way that you can have 7,000 employees and make every single one of them happy. We need to understand that moving forward. But I do think we can come up with a workable situation, framework, that the majority of our people are going to be comfortable
Let me ask
and
you,
in.
let me ask you something else. I must have misunderstood when we spoke at our last meeting, that no employee would lose their job, they would all be paid. Now I'm hearing that there are employees that aren't going to be paid.
I haven't heard.
I haven't heard that.
Is that,
Who did, I take so many people calling me, let me think.
I texted Dr. Grantham
Did you
today.
hear
because
that?
I heard that, I had somebody, I had some paras concerned, and so I texted Dr. Grantham, and he said, everybody's going to be paid. So we made that at
Might
the
be bus
emergency
drivers that I-
board meeting.
You can.
Somebody asked me about
Maybe it was-
Just wait.
Was it?
I'll stay out here.
So you can
I don't remember even what, it might have been a bus driver.
I was trying to watch, and so let me kind of tell you what's happened. I've sent you the daily emails of what's going on. So Monday, so let me tell you what was told to principals. We are still negotiating with everybody that's going on. So yesterday's conversation, today is Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. The teachers union, the MEA kind of said, hey, we're thinking about bringing teachers back. Then Orange County did their thing where teachers are staying at home. So then today was, we might want to stay home. So I said, what if we do a hybrid based on what the teacher needs? So childcare has been an issue, and Reverend Cummings, you're absolutely right. So if we make a decision for MEA, we have to do it for MESP, we have to do it for IUPAC. We have to be fair, we have to be equitable. So, Ms. King, to your point, we are absolutely trying to take care of employees. We absolutely are. If a high school teacher thinks it's best for them to work at home and they can pull that off, that's fine. If a teacher wants to come to school, that's fine. And we're talking about, well, if you have children, can you bring your children? So these conversations are just hours and hours and hours. Like Mark said, 5 days to make a decision. It's going to start next week. So the conversation with the principals was, Monday, something's going to happen. And I remember, and I talked to a principal today, and I said, I did not say this was happening Monday. I said, we were teaching instruction, something's going on Monday. And the initial conversation, which you saw last night, was Monday was grades, Tuesday was getting ready, Wednesday was direct instruction. That conversation changed today. So we're constantly having these conversations to get it. So we were close with MEA saying, yeah, and then MESP said, but what about paras working from home? So then we had the conversation, well, how do you document a para working from home? So all these conversations are just gobbled up time and hours and hours. We will do what's best for our employees. That is our approach. And Ms. McCall, you're right. We're not doing anything to people's paychecks. We're going to figure it out because we've already allocated the money. But what we do as of right now, we don't know. And I asked Mark, how do we ask 3,000 teachers what you want to do right now? Do we send out a survey? I think the best way is to say, here's your two options.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to do. Make sure your principal knows, your APs know, and that's what we're going to do. That's the kind, if tomorrow or Monday, that's what we do. But, that could change by Friday because of something that happens in this county. So we know that. So we are very, very flexible. But Reverend Cummings, again, we have to take care of every employee. And the teachers are largely important, but so are the non-instructors, so are the bus drivers, so are the aides. So we will come to something with you, and I will continue to send you the conversations.
Thank you.
And if you look at the bottom of that paper, it says, this is what we discussed with the unions today. And that's ever changing because it just flipped from yesterday. And it's not anything to do with the union, it's just the day's changing.
Has there been any conversation at all about some of the cafeteria workers not being paid?
So
Oh,
there's,
they've been,
yeah.
I'm just
sorry,
asking, I
go
think that's the angle this thing came from to
okay.
me.
Go ahead, Doc.
No, so there's a cafeteria monitor, which is a part-time person.
Monitor.
So part-time people are not getting paid. Full-time
it
employees
was-
are getting, it was a
It was
2-hour
the
person.
monitors, and it was the extended day.
Extended day. 'Cause
Those are the
extended
two.
days after school and monitors are like, and I went to a group of principals and I said, typically who are these folks? Who are, they're parents, they're people that are doing a couple hours, there are PTA folks that do that. So they were part-time employees, not full-time employees. So cafeteria workers are the cafeteria monitors, and we have so many classifications of people, it's hard to keep them. But I will tell you, the union represents all their folks very well. And they say, take care of these people.
It's extended day in that group too, because I remember.
Yes, extended day, because they generate a different pot of money after
Right.
school, and we've had conversation about that. Well, if we have extended day going on at school, we might as well have school.
And we were
That,
even,
that defeats the whole purpose
I know in
of.
our discussions last week, we were trying to figure out something for the extended day folks.
But I'll tell you this, Reverend Cummings, what we found is if we allow the employee to choose, hey, I want to stay at home because I have 5 children, or hey, I want to come to school and bring my 2 kids, that flexibility will kind of help with the childcare and the paraprofessionals and the bus aides and that kind of stuff. So that kind of eliminated trying to provide childcare if we gave the employees the opportunity to do whatever is best for their family, really.
I heard a good idea where like parapros or bus drivers or employees, if they do have to work remotely from home right now because there's not students, one of their ideas that they had is like maybe they could call parents or they could call the students and check in, how you doing? And if they're not, or if they have questions, maybe they could help tutor over the phone, or if they don't know the answer, they probably being in the system, they would know where to go and which direction. I thought that was a pretty good and creative idea for right now, so that way they're working, we're including everyone.
So let me
And
tell you the minutia of the meetings. ESOL para makes a ton of sense to call parents
Yes.
that are speaking another language, and one person is assigned to 120 kids probably. So that person can work all day, more than 8 hours. But then, so the conversation when we had with Ms. Mellowary today, what does a regular para do at school? So what they're doing tonight, and the superintendent referred to their homework, they're saying this is what we're proposing to do from home. And we're going to look at that because Mr. Altabello said we're trying to find out what other districts are doing with those folks. And they say, hey, this is what we're committing to do at home. We have a checks and balance there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good with that. So, and I told them, and because we meet a lot, and I said, look, guys, it's almost Friday. And we got to tell some folks what's going on, but we got to do our due diligence and make the right decision. And what I'm terrified of is as soon as we make a decision,
It's going to change.
then it changes. But, yeah, I know. So MESP is, their homework tonight is to bring us, what would you say you're going to do at home? How are we going to document that so that we're all in good graces with everybody? As an
Let me
employer and.
clarify that. Let me clarify that. That homework is for the collective bargaining presidents,
Yes.
because we don't want to get 1,000 emails tonight, us,
oh, no.
and phone calls. Let them do the work, and then you guys are going to do that.
So
Okay.
Mr. Altabello, Ms. Merriweather, they're trying to come up with other districts' plans for what paraprofessionals or people are doing that are supposed to be in classrooms with kids. What are they doing at home?
Okay, I got a call from a parent today, and she was asking how her student could get online and do his work and stuff like that. And I just said I can only suggest that, it was a Denella Middle School kid. I just can only suggest that you call the school and speak. I said, I think only the principal and maybe the secretary is
How
there.
they do what, Ms. Stacy, how they get online?
How to get their lessons and how to get on the computer. They don't know really how to do it.
To navigate through
So
technology.
I'll speak
So
on
I didn't
behalf of
know who to-
secondary and elementary, and certainly outlier schools are totally different, but secondary students, kind of the expectations that you're doing stuff online. My daughter's in 6th grade. A lot of 6th graders are doing stuff
The
online.
mother was confused about how to get her middle school some help. And I assumed that the principal and the secretary was at the school, and I said, I don't know
They
what
are.
to tell you except to call there.
They are.
And see if one of those 2 people can assist you.
They are, and
I said,
they're inundated with phone
They might
calls.
be in meetings,
Right.
just call until you get somebody.
Right, and how we're delivering the content for elementary, you've seen some of the tweets we're putting them out in the boxes, we're delivering. But I do want to tell this group too, we're not bringing anything back this way.
Right.
Everything's
all
going
going
out, nothing comes back. So here's something to do, here's some things to do for work and grades and such as, but nothing's coming back. So again, that's a conversation, and just to think about that takes several conversations just to get to that, not agreement, because we're working great together, but we got to think through all the
By the time
the
y'all get
nuances.
it all figured out, we're going to be back in school.
Correct,
Our lips
Or-
to God's ears.
right, and that would be a great day.
But you know what? I'm a silver lining girl. At least this is not the last time this is going to happen. And everything y'all are doing, you're treading new ground and you're groundbreakers for what's going to happen. And so somebody remember everything you're doing because somebody catalog it all because this is going to happen again at some point in time.
Well, back to what you said about calling the school, there is one message on all school voicemails that says, please give us 24 hours to return your call. And so we have gotten the message, the area directors reinforced with the principals and the secretaries there to, every once in a while, when you get up and walk around, just go check that front phone and make sure you're returning calls.
And I've
Someone,
said,
when y'all get it all done, to make a binder out.
yeah, it's very well
Somebody
documented.
later's going to need it.
I do want to say that I did tell everybody in the several meetings today, this is not something you want to do by yourself in isolation. Don't go make a decision for your school. This has to, and so Kevin is the communication piece from this point forward. Principals last night sent something out saying, hey, our school sites are places for grab and goes for food, and that was appropriate, but from this point forward, Kevin is the mouthpiece because it's just too big. Now, and the one principal that I found out about, I had a conversation, and I said, well, that's not what I said, and that's not what we're doing, and remember, it's just Kevin communicating that out, so we will address those as they come about. We have to come to some kind of resolution by Friday, and again, I'm going to shoot you every day what's going on until you see it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that, I think
Thank
that
you
will,
for all you're
I
doing.
think that kind of helps
Yeah.
clear the air a little bit. Staff know that they're going to be taken care of. And
Always.
we've said that from the very beginning. We're going to do what's
And
right.
we will.
For the staff and the kids. Thank you. Does Mr. Avery need to come back in?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Avery.
He says he's done.
He's done.
We scared him. Any more public comment, Ms. Lopez? Okay. May I have a motion to adopt the committee members and procedures for the Operations Manual Committee?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Throer.
The committee members and procedures for the Operations Manual Committee complies with the board policy and Florida statutes.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the committee members and procedures for the Operation Manual Committee? In discussion? Okay. May I have a motion to, I'm sorry, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, with the same sign. It's unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the naming of Dunellen High School softball stadium to Fagan Field?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King.
The renaming of the softball stadium at Dunellen High School will honor the leadership displayed, relationships built, and acknowledge Coach Fagan's belief in how the power of athletics and academics combined can build productive citizens.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the naming of Dunellen High School softball stadium to Fagan Field? No discussion? All in favor? By aye?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to approve the naming of Westport High School football stadium to Ken Vianello Stadium?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Throer,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King.
The renaming of the football stadium at Westport High will honor the leadership displayed, relationships built, and acknowledge Mr. Vianello's belief in student activities helping to produce a sound school culture.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the naming of Westport High School football stadium to Ken Vianello Stadium? Any discussion? All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the rezoning of Evergreen Elementary School effective the 2020-2021 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thor,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King.
Proposed zoning change would move students in the Evergreen Elementary School zone living west of I-75 into the College Park Elementary School zone. This change was requested by the school board during the November 19th, 2019 work session and the January 9th, 2020 work session. The changes will affect approximately 160 students in the specified area.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the rezoning of Evergreen Elementary School? Any discussion? All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C 11.1 through C 22.1, with the exception of item C 15.1 that has been pulled and placed under discussion, and items C 11.1 and C 16.2 that have been withdrawn from the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. King. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. This is discussion, approved change order. Approved change order, discussion for approved change order number 1, amendment work authorization number 59, deduct the change order to install metal flashing at all guttered roof eaves at Bellevue High School, project number 20-105, in the amount of $4,083.33. Have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Ms. McCall. All in favor, any discussion?
No, that's the bad stuff.
All in favor, say by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Approved change order number 1, amendment work authorization number 65, deductive change order to install a new emergency generator at Westport High School. Project number 18113 in the amount of $76,407.03.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Unanimous. May I have a motion to remove from the table item C 13.1, the 2019-2020 fiscal year contracts, instructional principal and assistant principals, district administrator, and specialized personnel.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. All in favor, say by aye. Aye. Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 fiscal year contracts, instructional principal?
removed it from the table.
So we got to talk about,
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll have discussion.
We're gonna motion second, and then we're gonna
Yeah,
have discussion.
then discussion.
oh,
May I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 fiscal year contracts, instructional principal and assistant principals, district administrator, specialized personnel?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. All in favor? I'm sorry, there's any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
We're there.
Go ahead, Ms. Stacy.
Okay. I tabled this item last week.
Correct.
I wanted to give a little bit of time to work through. And tonight, I want to address the part of this document that, not the instructional, but the unrepresented employees, the district administrative and specialized personnel contracts, and the principal and assistant principal contracts, because they are unrepresented. Those employees have no union and zero representation except for us 5. The last 3.5 years, I have seen valued employees, annual contracts not renewed, and today our loss is another district's gain, because those fired or unrenewed employees are now doing the same great things, same great jobs they did for us at other nearby school districts who are even ranked academically higher than we are. I have watched us demote employees at schools or not renew their contracts, only to see it did not improve school performance, and more often, I believe it harmed it. I have grave concerns for our employees, and this legislative body and everyone in the county has seen a third-party investigation document that was even published in the newspaper of what our employees are facing here. We cannot afford to lose another seasoned, experienced educator, because it is our students who will be negatively affected. I believe I have reason to fear our new superintendent facing a scorched earth atmosphere. Our system cannot afford to lose another valued educator. For 3 years, our employees have expressed concerns over the number of employees who have been forced to resign or terminated. Therefore, tonight, I am asking my fellow school board members to approve this district admin and specialized personnel contracts and principal and A contracts as 2-year contracts instead of a single year for good cause. Since these contracts are being approved for the school year we are currently in, means that we will be approving them just through next school year. That will give the new superintendent a good feel of our district with employees in positions they are experienced at. After all, those employees who are in place were in these same current places when we improved our school grades. We were elected to make hard decisions, and we pledge each meeting to do what is right for students. Our unrepresented employees have just us 5 to represent their interest and to protect them from unwarranted retaliation that we have all seen firsthand. This will not prevent the current superintendent or the new superintendent after November from good cause termination, but it will force that termination through the due process, not just willy-nilly retaliation, which without 2-year contracts could happen. So I'm asking that we approve these contracts, but that the unrepresented employees, we approve these contracts for 2 years, not 1 year. Any interest?
Well, and we already have board policy that covers that. It's Board Policy 6.18, and we could be doing it for up to 3 years. So that's why, could be one of the reasons why we have this policy in place. I do know, after working for the district for so many years, that the principal pinball is nothing new. And having worked in the district for so many years, I also know how disruptive it really is. And when leadership teams are strong and they're making progress and they're connecting with the parents and the students, then it behooves us to move on to other things that are problems and work on solving them, because that's not one of them. So I would support what you're requesting, Ms. Stacy.
Okay, any other conversation?
I don't have my computer in front of me. It's the principals and APs.
It's the district administration.
Right.
There's 4 parts to that. Some of it's instructional. The part that I'm talking about expanding to a 2-year contract are the
Principals, assistant principals.
district administrators and
specialized personnel.
personnel that are not represented by unions, that have no representation.
Okay, because I'm just thinking, is the,
Because see, the instructional, they have unions that protect their.
correct. They have, I'm just thinking, what if the new superintendent and I'm thinking, are the fishbowl people included in that, or no? Or is that-
Everyone, but they're going to get new contracts anyway, more than likely, because it's time to renew now.
Correct.
This would protect people who maybe just feel like there's retaliatory action against them for some reason or another. That's the ones, because the other people will have contracts anyway already, remember. They're going to get new contracts in the fishbowl anyway.
Right, but I'm just thinking if the new super comes in and wants to make changes, I'm not thinking, I know the principal.
They'll all
They
get
can
new
still-
contracts anyway.
They can still do that under
Yeah.
for cause, is that what you're
So
saying?
that's
for
what I
good
was,
cause.
oh, for good cause. So
Like if
that's
someone's
what I
not
was
working
just
out, then they
wondering.
can terminate for good cause, just like anybody else can if they're not doing their job. But the new superintendent's not, see, they're going to be getting contracts, remember, in July 1st. That superintendent won't be doing contracts till the following July 1st.
But they can move the position, this person in the position. We're not, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure, like, there was no movement in the position.
No,
So
they can move the position.
They can move the position. Okay, oh, no, you have my full support, then I'm good with that now that
It just gives everybody a nice, secure feeling that everybody is in a safe zone here. And it also, when the new superintendent comes in the fall, people will be in place that have already been experienced in that position. You know, they're there. They're not bringing new people in to replace them.
I got you. Ms. McCall, any comments?
No, my only concern is this just for this current 2 years, and then we readdress it? Or are you asking
No. It's
that
just-
this stay in place?
This
in
contract
perpetuity?
that we're approving is actually last year's contract, the one that the people went in July. So this contract we're approving actually expires in a couple months. I'm just asking to do a 2-year approval, not a single year, on these contracts, so that the unrepresented people
have security.
have security.
I can go along with that.
It brings up another issue as well, and that is when you have staff that ends up being moved before we know about it, so to speak. And we have 2 principals for sure that we know are retiring, one from North Marion Middle and then one from either 8th Street or Osceola. And that can create quite a domino effect.
Yes.
And in that sense, it can't be helped. They're retiring, so great for them, you did it. But personally, I really want to foster as much excellent stability as possible. We've had a lot of instability for many reasons, including the one that we're dealing with right now, the current instability. So anything that we can do to reassure our staff and our leadership teams at schools that they're going to be able
Have
to
a
keep the
job. They
band
can
together.
pay their house bill.
Well, not just
Have
a
a
job,
job.
but be able to keep the band together unless there really is a reason, to move them.
So let me-
And it's
so let me
difficult
ask-
for me because I don't understand we approve things after they've already happened, you know? And so what does that really do? It's just a rubber stamp. It's already happened. The people have been shifted around. And so I'd like to see with this staffing plan, just more communication and conversation ahead of it so that, and with the intention that when at all possible, and when it makes good sense and the data supports it, let's keep these folks
Stable.
where they're doing well. Yeah.
So I have one question.
Because
Does this-
teachers will leave, and not just teachers, paras, cafeteria workers, whatever, they will leave to follow a principal when they get moved, so then you end up,
A whole school.
yeah, it's
So
like
thi-
changing neighborhoods.
This will not, just thinking through this, so we've got 2 principals that we know of right now that will be retiring, and, you know, somebody may move, so, you know, we have to.
That's fine.
So I want to be sure we're not tying the hands
No, we-
of, if there is an elementary principal that has done ed leadership and is, you know, looking to move up. So that principal could be moved into.
That has anything to do with that.
Or maybe someone from the
Okay,
pool.
I just don't want to, I don't want to tie our hands that, oh, we've got these openings, but now we've passed this where we can't move somebody into this
All we've done
position.
is we have given these people that are in these contracts, these people that are sitting in these positions right now, instead of getting a 1-year contract, they're getting a 2-year
So
contract.
basically, we're just,
Giving them
basically, right
job
now, we're just saying, we would be saying, as a board, that everybody's safe for this year and until the new superintendent comes in.
I'm fine with
Be a
that.
year from now, because
Which
we're
would be a year from
approving
now.
this 2019, 2020
And
year,
again-
and then 20.
Okay, I'm
Right,
good
but
with
there is, if there's for cause, of course, those moves will be made. We're just trying to prevent the is that what I'm
Even
hearing?
termination, no one's stopping the superintendent from not
Right.
terminating someone who's not doing their job.
Right, for
But it will
cause.
go through it will go through the proper due process channels. So all we've done is,
You're just telling the people, y'all safe.
you're safe, you got a job, and, you know, you might not be at the same, you might not be at the same school, but you'll be at the same level, you got the job. You know, you will still get that pay for whatever, you know that you're gonna be able to pay your house payment this summer.
So I want.
I just heard something different. I just heard something different.
Yeah, so did I.
I
I
just
want
heard
to
something
keep the
different.
stability. If
Well,
they're
that we
doing
can't
a good
control. The
job
super-
at the school, we need, you know, we've had enough upheaval, and especially with this situation.
All we can do is
need to
control the
keep
contracts,
things.
and we can ask the superintendent to keep things stable, but all we're involved with is contracts, and she determines where they are. And so that's just the way it is, that's life. And so that's in
I think
statute.
that's policy too.
It's
especially the
statute, I mean.
policy for- Well, and it's your policy, and your policy for the new appointed superintendent is even much more precise. So that might be, yeah, something to look at as well.
But this is just, our employees will, our APs and
And it's really
principals.
interesting, this point, because actually, as I was trying to work with you all for me to exit early, that was one of the things that I had put in the proposed agreement, and it was taken out by the other side. So I had asked for that, actually. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up in this context.
Ask for what? Ask for what?
Stability, and everybody just for a year.
Right,
Let them be.
right.
That was taken out.
We have no idea what you're
Okay.
talking
We don't know what you're
Okay,
talking about.
let's move. So,
I'm certain.
yeah, I know what she's talking about. So, does this motion have to be modified to say something different?
We just want, it'll be a 2-year contract, not a 1-year. And if that's what she
So-
wanted, and we're all on the same page.
Right, Dr. Mayor did, in some discussions I've had with her, she did request that same
Okay,
thing.
then we're all on the same
And
page.
it wasn't really taken out, it was just gonna be coming back in a different way, Dr. Mayor.
Oh,
was just gonna come in a different way.
No, it was taken out.
Well, I guess now, Dr. Mayor, you're on the same page as us. Thank you.
Not really, but we're good. We're good.
Okay.
So this needs to be 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021? Is that what I'm?
what you said.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
2019, 2020.
So may I have a motion to approve?
So I will
We
amend.
have a motion.
The motion has to be approved, yeah, it has to be amended.
Okay, my motion is that we approve these contracts for those 2 unrepresented groups, and that instead of it being an annual contract, it is a 2-year contract.
For 2019, 2020,
Well, I mean,
2020,
that's
2021.
2 years.
We need to
I
be
mean, that's-
specific, we need to be specific on this.
well, Okay,
Yeah.
2-year 4, so you'll help me with
2019,
the dates.
2019, 2020, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, you got it. Type that.
We have a motion from Ms. Stacy that, to approve the 2019, 2020, and the 2020, 2021 fiscal year contracts for instructional principal, assistant principal, district administrator, and specialized personnel.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Amended.
We already have, yeah, we have an motion on the floor, so this has to be an amendment to that
Amended the
motion.
motion,
Correct?
Yeah.
That's an amendment to the motion.
right.
So, second on that motion?
Yeah, I need a second.
Ms. King's,
Ms. King seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
aye.
Unanimous, okay. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the revised 2020-2021 school-based staffing plan with the removal of a program specialist and the addition of a coordinator at the Silver River Museum, revised the 2020-2021 school-based staffing plan with the addition of a coordinator for the student services? I need a motion.
Oh, so moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Dorr. Ms. King, I understand you pulled this item. Wish you have additional discussion.
I did pull this item. What caught my attention was at the Silver River Museum, there, in this, if we were to approve this, we would be promoting that position from a program specialist to a coordinator, and it's a promotion in funds and money. And with all the uncertainty and everything, the way everything is going right now, I would like us to take a pause for that right now and just leave it as is moving forward. I do agree that we do need that student services position for the health coordinate part, but I would like to amend that just that we could keep that position as this program specialist for the time being, and then, or if we, moving forward later when we know more later, then we could maybe reconsider this, but I would think right now, I'm not necessarily sure that this position is a great program, great person, but I'm not sure this is the proper time to give job promotions or change that position so they're making an increase in pay, if that makes sense.
McCall?
Mr. Cummings, I have to disagree with Ms. King. Mr. Mitchell has done a yeoman's job. He has been a coordinator for so many years. He's just been called a program specialist. I don't know of any other county that has what we have in the Silver River Museum, and I think it's time that we recognize him for what he is doing. And so I cannot agree with you. I have to go with promoting Mr. Mitchell.
Are you aware of the cost, like what the pay with this program specialist, what he is making and what he will be? Can you give us those numbers?
Currently, he makes $77,447.20. The salary would go to $78,334. The difference would be $886.80 a year, which is about $5.69 a day. I spend more than that at Dunkin' Donuts. So that would be the difference.
800, you mean 8,000 a year?
$886.80.
800 a year.
$800 a year.
I thought you said it went from 70-something to 75-something.
Nope, from 77,447 to 78,334.
Oh, okay.
So, and he does all of the tasks required of a coordinator, but he can't evaluate his own staff.
How many staff members does he have?
He's got the teacher on assignment, he's got his admin, but he
Secretary there? The
one, and he can't, so Ms. Beck has to evaluate. So, and I said, it's not even all the extra that he does, because everybody puts in extra, but when we're looking at the outcome of his efforts, with over 10,000 kids a year going through there, and I do agree with you that in uncertain times and right now what's going on, But it is important, we've got to note that the difference is going to be $886.80 a year, which breaks down to $5.69 a day.
And I agree, I think it's a good, like, add another date, another time moving forward, but we don't even know what we're paying out next year, how things are looking. I know the Florida School Board Association told us moving forward, be careful who we're hiring, look at all of our money and stuff, so, and I know we have other, things that are being considered in other areas, it's just, I mean, I know it's only 800, but if you take 800 here and there and everywhere, but if y'all are comfortable, that's fine, I mean,
Well, I think
I'm
because
just-
of the fact that it puts him at a level, you know, to be able to evaluate and do the things that he needs to do, and he's probably already been doing it anyway, for the most part. But, I mean, if it was a big hike, like a $5,000 hike, Ms. King, I'd agree 100%. We don't do any $5,000 right now when we've got cafeteria workers we're having to figure out how to figure out to pay. But with that, only with that small amount, then, I'll go along.
So all in favor? Are we ready for a vote? I'm sorry. go
I
ahead.
just want to say, like, I am in favor of the student services. I'm not in favor of giving that promotion.
We're
So
gonna
how
split
do I?
that vote.
Oh, we're going to split it?
We're gonna
Okay.
go ahead and split it. We're just gonna vote right now.
Okay.
On Silver River, and then we'll go.
I just do want to weigh in a little bit here because I've had a lot of interaction with Scott Mitchell over the years through Ocala Days. And when he first came on board, Ocala Days was first getting started. And every year, he has made Ocala Days more and more accessible and wonderful for our kids with special needs. And I truly, truly appreciate that because a lot of times the special needs kids are the ones that don't do well on field trips. You know, it's overwhelming to them. And he has worked with us to help put things in place so that the kids really, really benefit. It was always one of our favorite field trips. And I guess I'm just not willing to not give any employee, if we can do it, it's what we should be doing for employees that are giving more than 100%. How long has he been with us? 15 years?
He's only the second
How many
ever.
days
First was
He
Guy
he
Marwick.
replaced Guy Marwick.
What's his year, like his days in a year? Is he like,
Well, as a program specialist, it's like teacher plus a couple days, but he does Camp Kiwanis, he does all this extra with events at night and.
Yeah,
the
we've lost
ma-
too many good employees by not honoring them, yeah.
We need to honor him.
Yeah, no, I think, like, again, I think it's a great program. I think a great person. I just think maybe right now may not be the appropriate time. So I'm just want to make that clear, that it's not that I don't think he's not doing a good job. I don't think that it's a bad program. I just think in light of times and what's happening, for me personally, but we can move forward.
So we're splitting this, correct? So we're going to just vote on the
On the Silver River.
the Silver River. So all in favor of the Silver River, the coordinator position be revised in the school-based staffing plan, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign.
Aye.
4-1. All in favor for approving the revised 2020-2021 school-based staffing plan with the removal of a program specialist and the addition of a coordinator and specialist. Revise the 2020-21 school-based staffing plan with addition of a coordinator for student services. Signify by aye.
Do we need a
Did I read that
motion
right?
for that? So
We
moved.
already had a motion for it, didn't we?
No, but that was for the Silver River.
Silver
Okay.
River. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Stacy. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Unanimous.
Before we move on, can I clarify, he's a 260 day?
260.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beck.
And would he be a represented employee or an unrepresented employee? Just,
And
unrepresented?
he's
Representative.
not one now. The 260s, yeah, Ms. Beck will give me that, but he would not, he coordinators.
May I have a motion to approve the Marion County Public School Pandemic Action Plan?
so moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. Any discussion? No discussion?
That's the one that hadn't been updated since 2005, right? It was.
Right, right. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $24,185. Charter bus fees value at $1,075 to Evergreen Elementary School from Junior Women's League of Ocala. 21 recess bags value at $2,000 to Evergreen Elementary. $1,110 to Forest High School from One Blood Incorp. $20,000 to Hillcrest Public School from an anonymous donor. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Thrower. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Ms. Approve unanimously. Ms. Thrower, could you thank everybody?
Absolutely, absolutely. The generosity of this community just continues to amaze me, and I'm so grateful. Hillcrest School gets a $20,000 donation every year from an anonymous donor that wants absolutely no notoriety, and it's just amazing. And the variety. I mean, we got sand donated a few meetings ago, and horse trailers, and books, and now we're getting recess bags and charter bus fees for Evergreen, and I'm pretty sure that's so that the kids can go see could have gone, hopefully they'll still get to see the Orlando Magic game. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But just again, all of our thanks to the community and for your continued generosity, especially during these times that we're dealing with right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys know, moving forward, I guess we're gonna be kind of having some modifications, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through these, and then we can discuss them. Meeting reminders, the next regular administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for April 9th, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss new charter school application review and a review of alternative learning district staffing plan 2 of 4, emergency manual update, proposed new cafeteria at Osceola Middle School, audit presentations 2018-2019 with Purvis and Gray auditors Allison L. Stone and Tim Westgate, and African American History Community Advisory Team Committee. The following administrative briefings and work sessions scheduled for April 23rd, 2020 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss long-range planning, annual review of health insurance 2020-21, board concern, value adjustment board appointments, district staffing plan 3 of 4, comprehensive mental health plan, and emergency manual update if needed. Committee reports, concerns. Dr. Mayor, any concerns?
No, but happy's to share.
Please.
I'd like to hear them.
Well, let's end on a happy. So, I'll hold that thought. As of today, Marion County Public Schools have 0 cases of confirmed COVID-19, and that is so important to note. And again, kudos, Mr. Christian, for your daily updates. They help quite a bit. And again, another huge thanks to Mr. Lander and his team at Department of Health, who are always just a text or a call away. He actually joined us in the principal Zoom meeting that we had the other day, and he will continue to update us appropriately. The parent survey for student technology needs at home, that ends tonight. We have a little over 13,000 responses, and so we are tallying those. So I asked Mr. Clark last week, just take the numbers we have today and let's get a proposal for hotspots, and this is to provide hotspots for students who may need them. If we go with the numbers we had last week to buy hotspots, to provide these hotspots, it would be over $1 million. Yes, so as you hear, these companies are saying free, it's not. So the idea that Ms. Slaughter had tonight is fabulous, and as we move forward with these thoughts, and we've got to have these ideas, because my mind was racing and I'm taking all sorts of notes and questions that we have to talk about tomorrow when we meet, is to reflect back on what Dr. Grantham said. These decisions are more than just a one person saying it's a go, because I'm thinking to myself, we've got making notes for Ms. Lively, weighing in on the liability, and what's the liability, and how are we gonna wipe down the laptops in between, and what else could we do, and all these. So know that when we are having these conversations, there are many people at the table, and it's much like the Waltons at Thanksgiving. The table just keeps getting bigger, and there's always room for one more. So just fabulous. So know, though, that Mr. Clark continues to look at outside of the box needs as well, but I wanted you to hear the cost, and I wanted the public also to hear the cost for that. So the supplemental resources for students are available now, and we say supplemental because, per the commissioner, this is an extended week of spring break. So the resources that we say popped today are supplemental, but over spring break, our elementary curriculum department and our secondary curriculum department worked on these resources to ensure alignment with the standards that the students would have if they were in class. And folks might ask, well, why didn't the teachers do it? Because the teachers are off contract. So we couldn't, because then, again, going back to that big group meeting, if we ask them to work, or if they technically are working, then that would take away instructional time and the instructional days. So the curriculum department put that together and made that available today. And so our teachers then will move forward with instruction, however that looks, as of March 30th. So the resources are getting us through the week, and they're really well done. They're really well done, and they are available online. If you go to that red banner that heads the top of our website, that just continues to creep. Yes, it keeps creeping down. The link is in there. Also, our schools made copies, and copies of these supplemental packets are available at schools. And we've seen some tweets today of really interesting presentations of how parents can pick them up from schools. And also Walmart. Every Walmart in Marion County allowed us to set these packets up in their stores in a prominent location. And thanks, Ms. Thrower and Reverend Cummings, for jumping in there and helping us make that happen. And we had transportation help. They picked up the packets from the curriculum department and delivered them. We've had churches reach out wanting to help restock and copy and do for us. And so just you had mentioned silver lining before, and there are many. There are many if we just open and look for them. So don't forget to our Community Reads website for our K-5, and thousands of books available for our kids, and just continue to read. Our grab and go meals started today, and over 6,000 meals were prepared and delivered to kids. Now this is for any, and we say child, any child 18 years or younger. They do not have to be a Marion County Public School student. Just come, and we've got these awesome meals for you. And so we've got 22 sites set up, nearly 100 stops, likely to add more sites. I looked over the debriefing that Ms. Johnson sent to Ms. Boston Ellis today, and there were a couple sites that ran a little short, so she said we're going to adjust tomorrow. We're looking at this. So it's again, as with everything, it's a fluid situation. Remember, please, that school campuses, we say they remain closed through April 15th. And from our lips to God's ears, we will reopen on the 16th, and we will keep you informed on that. And going back to what Mrs. Stacy said earlier, know that please call the school. Parents, families, if you have any questions, please call. There'll be a uniform message on each voicemail. Leave a message, and within 24 hours, you will get a call back from the principal or a designated person who can answer that question for you. Now, during this time as well, all extracurricular activities are postponed and or canceled, depending on what they are. And you know, your heart breaks for these kids who are scholar athletes and needed the season to continue. And going back to what Ms. McCall said, it's all of us in the same situation, if that's any source of bright light, but to these young people, I know it hurts, and our heart aches for you as well. March 30th, a new day. We will have a new day in Marion County Public Schools, and what that looks like, I think it's exciting that we are in a position to create this and create it with all of us working together. And our primary goal it stays the same: keep our kids safe. We're going to stop the spread of whatever this is, and we're going to educate our community. So even though the school doors are shut, learning continues, and our hearts stay open for all of these kids. Remember too that on our website, in that ever increasing big red banner, that we have links to the CDC, to Department of Health, and that is where we get our information, and we encourage folks to get their information from reputable sources, and we appreciate that very much. Again, this is a week of extended spring break. When we come back on the 30th as well, we will be having what's called a continuity plan, and that's just in paper saying all the great things that we will do moving forward while we get through this pandemic. And we're working along with our representative unions as well for that. So there's a quote in Harry Potter, and Dumbledore said it, and he's he said, "Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light." And so tonight, when we had the data presentation, my heart just broke. My heart just broke for so many of our teachers who, my gosh, the daily miracles that they have made happen for these kids who have achieved so much, for these families to just make great things happen. And we know what this end of the year would have been. And to every one of our employees, I'm just so sorry that this has happened. But I so know what our grade would have been at the end of the year. And for our kids, the learning continues. For our teachers, my heart breaks, but I know that you'll continue doing great things in whatever platform it is that we come up with. And so I'm turning on the light, but I got to tell you, my heart just broke a lot today. So I'll leave it at that. And Officer Berry, I didn't forget you. I was leaving you to the end because you also are just a light, and for everything you do for our kids and our community, you're so appreciated. And thanks for hanging out with us, socially distancing as we are. So thank you. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Attorney Green,
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Lopez.
I just need to know which board members or how many will be attending the summer conference, because I do have to put it on the board agenda.
All of us,
I know
except for Ms. Stacy.
Except for Ms. Stacy. So we got 4 confirmed, so that's June 12th to the 14th. Okay, thank you.
If they're still going to
Yeah, I
have
was
it.
like,
Well, yes.
we'll see.
We'll see.
By then, we'll be
Yeah.
back in action.
Ms. King?
Yeah, so let's see if I pull this. We've been talking about this census for a while, and I know many of us, if not most of us, have a lot of time that we're spending at home now. And you should have by now received a packet that says to enter your information by computer, or if not, they'll send you something by mail. I did have a chance to fill out the information on the computer, and it was very simple. Your paper that they send you, except for Miss McCall, she gets kicked off. But other than that, I think the rest of us did it. It was fairly easy. You go back and retry it and let us know how it goes. But
I will.
yeah, but it was simple. You just enter a PIN number. It asks you some questions about your home. And by law, they're just collecting the information, no more than that. So if that paper's sitting around your house and happens to catch your eye, now's the perfect time as any, and you can do it before April 1st when we start getting more mail. And I was going to use the word grace, but you mentioned the word earlier from the commissioner that he mentioned grace. And I just want to say, right now, under these unprecedented times, give yourself grace. You're not going to have the answers. None of us do. And I'm also going to ask that you please just give others the same grace that you're going to give yourself. It's a bumpy road, very fluid, and things are constantly changing, and it's going to be okay because that's who we are. We're Americans, we're Marion County residents, and we got this. So take a deep breath. Keep in contact, communicate with us, with your superintendent. Let's all try to be very transparent and communicate, because there are great ideas, and unless we bring it out in the open, we don't know unless they're brought to us. So please don't hesitate, unless it's to be mean to us. Just kidding. No, I'm not. But thank you, that's it. Stay safe.
Ms. Stacy?
Well, I guess I was quite excited yesterday to hear a gentleman talking about when I saw him like 3 times on 3 different shows, interviewed, where he was very, very sick and he was very close to death, and he'd already called his family to give them goodbyes, basically. He didn't look to be very old. He looked like he was probably in his maybe early 50s. By just looking at him, I couldn't hardly really tell. But he had gotten corona, and he had it was moving pretty. He had had it for 9 days, and no antibiotic they were giving him was working. He was having more and more trouble breathing. And through a prayer chain that someone had set up for him, a friend had set up a prayer chain. So, because he was so serious. And so in that prayer chain, one of the people just on it happened to say, has anyone talked to you about the anti-malarial drug? And, so the person on the prayer chain, his friend, said, have your doctors talked to you about that? Because someone on your prayer chain mentioned it. And so he asked his doctor about it, and his doctor said, well, it's kind of off script, I'm not doing it. But so he sent his infectious disease doctor in. And within 30 minutes, the infectious disease doctor brought him a dose of his anti-malarial medicine that afternoon. He said he woke up like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was absolutely felt well. Not any symptoms, breathing great. He said he had a slight headache. And in fact, he went home today. But that was yesterday when I saw him. But had it not been for the prayer chain and the communication, great communication among friends and people, that someone just happened to willy-nilly say that, it saved his life. So it's so neat that, we might have information that can help someone, and to not hold back on it, to share something anything that you've got, that gave me a message, anything that I've got that I can share with someone else, this is a time to do it. Don't just think about it, and don't hold the information, don't hoard it. And so I would like to share something with Dr. Mayer right now. Dr. Mayer, I was so excited to see our presentation tonight, and I agree with you. I think this district would have soared. And so we're just going to all pretend we had FSA scores because we just saw our QSMAs, and they are fantastic and great improvement. And so as far as this board is concerned, our district just got a B. Okay, Dr. Mayer? We just gave ourselves a B. We saw the presentation, and let's just... Okay, well then we'll say A. I'm not very good at the testing stuff, so we'll say A. We got an A. And so we'll just leave it at that for our teachers and everything. And Dr. Mayor, thank you for your hard work. And so I'd like to share this joy with you that we thank you, and we put it out there that this school board gave ourselves an A. Our data looks great. Thank you.
I would say, and I appreciate that very much, Mrs. Stacy, but the board didn't give the A. It was earned by so many teachers and students.
It sure was. It was earned, and we gotta have to recognize it because the data definitely shows it. And I was just stunned when I saw how much improvement we've had, and I want to thank everyone that we earned a much higher grade, and I want to thank all of our employees for all their hard work, and thank you, Dr. Mayor.
Ms. McCall?
Ms. Rohr, go ahead. So it was, from the time we began our conversation about the backpack program, it has been fast and furious. I need to thank Dr. Mayor because we realized on Thursday that the fire stations were not going to work.
Oh.
And she suggested, since the principals would be at their schools starting Monday and the secretaries would be there, they have the relationships with the families, that we do the deliveries there. So thank you, Dr. Mayor, because it worked very well. I want to thank Interfaith Emergency Services, Carla and her team. They actually hired employees from the Hilton who had been let go to stuff all the bags. And so that went on Thursday. And when I took pictures, I had it on my Facebook page, and they were delighted to be there. And all those bags were stuffed. I want to thank the Public Education Foundation. Pastor Cummings had 5 drivers, including himself. Preston Boland with the EOC had some of his recruits out as drivers. Interfaith had drivers. And yesterday, items were picked up at Interfaith about 12 o'clock and delivered to schools. By 1 o'clock, it went off like clockwork. I emailed the principals yesterday afternoon and have gotten many emails back thanking us for making the decision to continue with that backpack program. They have contacted their families. Their families will be picking up for this week. So Reverend Cummings, be ready. We'll be driving some more next week.
Next week or this week? Next week or Friday? Friday.
Probably, I told them I would connect with them the first part of next week, so they've got the backpack.
I have folk on standby for this Friday.
Okay. So, and tomorrow, we begin at 7:30. It is a drive-through, drop-off food drive. People are going to be able to drive on that little street right in front of the gazebo on the square. We'll be picking up food, 7:30 to 2 o'clock. So come by. This community, more people have reached out about this. So I thank everyone who has been involved. We delivered to 34 schools yesterday, and they were more than grateful. And I thank this community for always stepping up to the plate in times of need. So thank you, and I'll see you on the square early in the morning. Thank you, Reverend Cummings.
You're
I'll
welcome.
see you in the afternoon.
34 schools and maybe a couple more added.
There may be a couple of more, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McCall. Ms. Thrower?
There are just so many amazing people quietly doing amazing things every day in our community. And when we have a crisis, if it's a hurricane or a pandemic, doesn't matter what it is, it just magnifies, all of the champions that we have that pitch in and participate, don't wait to be asked, they jump right up and volunteer. And there's, even though it's a crisis and that's bad and we want it to go away, there's something incredibly satisfying and reassuring that when it comes right down to it, we have each other's backs. And when our backs are against the wall as Americans, look out, because we're going to take care of business, and that's exactly what's happening. And on the heels of that, this is when it's also really gratifying to be a school board member, and it's a little thing, but you have to take pleasure in those little things and being able to facilitate. That's such a big part of what we do. We voted on this a few meetings ago, shifting to sewers, about connecting the Ward Highlands baseball field. Their old septic system had failed, and they have tournaments. They have been serving the kids in our community for 61 years, so it's really a tradition. And when Mr. Lovell, who is the current Ocala Highlands baseball president, reached out to me and said, you know, we really want to have our bathrooms ready for obvious reasons for when the season starts. And it took a partnership, just like I was saying, you know, champions, where Mr. Knight and Mr. Herlihy and facilities jumped right in and got on it and connected with the city of Ocala and made sure that we were at the top of the list and stayed there till we could get it all worked out. Well, the old septic tank has been pumped and the lid crushed and filled with dirt, and they're now on the town pipe, so to speak, and they're ready to reopen whenever they're able to. So it really is. It's the little things, and knowing that when you need to get something done, there's always going to be plenty of helping hands. And I don't know that I specifically mentioned Jane Elsperman as a helping hand earlier in our conversation about Oakcrest and Evergreen, but she certainly has been a huge part of the progress there, and it's wonderful that we have people that are willing to come back and step in and partner with us to get us over a hump. And it's just something to be really, really grateful for. So we've got a lot of great minds that bring in great ideas, and I think that all of us are just really proving that we are open to any idea, no matter how strange it may seem, you know, to get through this time and to get through any time, really. You know, we have such potential here in this community, and it just keeps getting better. So take good care of yourselves, do the simple things well. Wash your hands very frequently, and maintain as much social distance as you can, and take care of your families, and we'll get through this. We're strong. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been a trying time for all of us. For no one is exempt. It is amazing that it would take a virus to unite the whole world together. It doesn't make a difference what point of earth you're on. We're all dealing with the same thing at the same time. And in that, we've had to make tough decisions. We're going to continue to have to make tough decisions. We're going to have to go in some uncharted places and do some uncharted things. But my faith says that's what we have to do when things like this show up. So I'm grateful to all of the staff members, to everyone with the Marion County School District. I have seen so much camaraderie. I've seen Dr. Mayer and Dr. Grantham take the bull by the horn and drive some things into place. I've seen those ladies, Ms. Rohr and Ms. Susan Johnson and Teresa Boston Ellis. I saw how they came together and put together a plan for feeding our kids. And then I sit on the board with some great ladies who thought it, like Ms. McCall, who said, listen, we have other kids that are not getting fed through the school system, and we need to make sure that those kids eat on the weekend as well. And it never ceases to amaze me that whenever we as people are tried with struggles, we always rise above the struggles. We always rise above the struggles. I've put out feelers for help for the to bring food tomorrow, and overwhelmingly, I just had people just calling and saying, hey, I got some food. I can't bring it tomorrow. Can I bring it by your church? Bring it on. We're still taking donations. We're going to continue to take the donations, and we're going to make sure that those things get into the hands of the people that need it. Everybody has different situations, and we want to make sure that we take care of each other. I had the opportunity this morning to go by the several schools on yesterday as well, dropping off bags, and then this morning to just kind of view the process of the grab and goes. They went very well, and I have on my thing, the Ocala.com, I see some pictures of people that were actually working the line, so that's kudos to our staff for getting out there and being with the principals. I was with the principal at Dr. N.H. Jones this morning. They were passing out bags, and I went through Parkside, and they were passing out bags. And thank you to the Ocala Police Department and our SROs, because they trailed a lot of those vehicles that were out and making sure that those meals got out in a decent way, and there was no traffic jams and nobody getting hit or anything like that. So, because we still have to be safe in how we dispense things. So I thank our law enforcement community for that. But so tomorrow, as Ms. McCall said, 7:30 in the morning, please meet us at the square. Churches, sororities, fraternities, Masonic organizations, whoever you are, neighborhood groups, we need you to bring those items down to the square
You
tomorrow.
don't even have to get out of your car.
You know, we'll come get it.
Drive by.
We'll come get it, and but we want to make sure that we get those things in the right hands and to the right people. Thank you to Interfaith. They made it so easy. Yesterday, it was so smooth. It was so easy. We pulled up, and they even loaded it for us. So I was like, man, this thing is working good. So, and it was just a good. I remember several years ago we had some hurricanes, and people came together for hurricanes. Well, this is a different crisis. It's a crisis, but it's a different crisis, and people are coming together. So normally hurricanes kind of hit us for 2 or 3 days, and we're kind of back to normal. This is different. This is unprecedented. So we're going to do well. This COVID-19 virus, and I keep thinking about this, and y'all know I'm a preacher, pastor, and so I look at things theologically, and I try to look at things from a psychological and a philosophical way, and I just kind of look at this thing that is sought to, the virus says we have to do social distancing. That was a new word. It's a new word that we have in our vocabulary now, social distancing, and that means to push us apart. But my theological perspective shows us that even though it's pushed us apart, it's pushed us together. Even though we're not in the same space, as close as we were in the same space, we're in the same mind space, because it has shown some commonalities among us. It's shown us that we're resilient, and when we're resilient, we unite. When we are tenacious, and we have been tenacious in this thing, and we've united again, and we've been committed to doing the right thing as a school district for all of our students, for all of our staff, we've united. And I'm pleased, I'm thoroughly pleased with what our superintendent, what our board members, what our staff have done in showing a willingness to make sure that every person is taken care of in the community, every student, every staff. So teachers, staff members, stay tuned. It's still evolving. It's still evolving, and we're going to do what's going to be best for everybody, but stay tuned. And I pray that everyone is being safe during this time. Please wash your hands. Please, if you got the mask or whatever, gloves, do the things that you need to do. And to our elderly community, because we have a huge elderly population in Marion County, please take care of yourself. And I do want to encourage you, if you know some older folk that may be in the area that their family may not be here, just check on them. You don't have to go by the house, but you can call them and just do a phone check and let them know that you're thinking about them. Because in times like this, people need to talk to each other. And we go on the telephone and talk about all kinds of stuff, but let's talk about some positive things. So again, thank you guys. And I'm just grateful to work in a district like this. And this has truly been, and we're going to get through this. We will get through this. This is the first time that we've had pandemics. There was one in 1918. We survived it. And we'll come through this one as well, by the grace of God. Okay? Yes, ma'am. That was the other thing. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. We have some work sessions coming up. We also have Ray and Associates coming up, meetings with those. Those things need to go forward. I need to hear from the board how you guys want to proceed with our work sessions And our board meetings, do we want to continue this format? I think it worked well with them bringing the one person in and doing it that way, so.
This format.
So we'll call Mr.
Too
Mr.
hard
Orr.
to do it by phone.
Yeah. Can we just, when we are looking at what we are bringing to the board, make sure that it's, like, of importance? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it something that needs to be addressed now or in the near future, or, you know what I mean? Sometimes, that's what I was just kind of.
Trying to cut down the
If we
clutter.
could just kind of cut down the clutter and keep it to the meat and potatoes, what is,
Well, we can look at the items that are on April 9th. I've shared
Right.
with Mr. Cummings, Chair Cummings.
For April 9th, we have the new charter school application review, annual review of alternative learning, district staffing plan, audit presentations, emergency manual update, proposed new criteria at Osceola Middle School, African American History Advisory Team Committee. If there's things on there that we need to,
They sound kind of all important, though.
yeah, they do.
What is the advisory committee, just
Yeah, that was.
approving?
Well, what it was.
Well, that's
we
a
did the work
notice,
session,
right.
But now we have to have another one because the rule development wasn't in place at the time we did the
Right.
last work session. So this is just going to be a real brief
Okay,
4-page
Okay.
slide that Ms. Barber will produce, and then we can move forward with the rule
Okay.
development. Because that one and the emergency manual, both are rule development rulemaking. So those are definite. We must.
okay, and they both should be short,
right.
yeah.
What about the new charter school application review?
Yes, because
we gotta
we've
do
already
that.
postponed them,
Okay. And the annual review,
and that's going to take a while.
the annual review of alternative learning, Mr. Ellers? Can we push that off?
I don't think so,
I don't think so. That's pretty important.
yeah.
So it looks like everything on here needs to stay.
I think it's, yeah.
I'm also wondering about our strategic plan. Did we agree that we would review that quarterly? Because if so,
No, decided we would review that annually.
Was it annually?
Yes, and we did, and we did put the new benchmarks on for
Right,
this school
right. I was
year.
wondering when we
But
were
we're gonna
gonna
have
look at
to
'em
really, well, we're gonna have to.
I don't know that we want to be looking at it just once a year. That doesn't really help guide us in planning. It's
We,
all over.
I think we need to kind of, if we're going to do these work sessions, kind of keep them to a minimum,
Yeah.
like 2 hours.
Let me think about that because
Okay.
it's gonna be very different this year,
Okay.
okay? But
Yeah.
I know that was
the
hard work
goals on the strategic plan are annual goals and objectives. We should have it, you should have it on your computer to refer to,
Right.
but they're annual goals to be reviewed annually.
Yes, the goals, but I was wondering about the objectives. They're usually more short-term and help us figure out, are we headed in the right direction?
Okay, well, I'll send it, I'll make sure everybody has a copy of it.
Okay.
I'll get it emailed out and then I'll send it to
Ms. Green.
Suzanne.
Thank you.
Okay, so April 9th, we're leaving alone. April 23rd is long-range planning, Mr. Hurley and Boston Ellis, annual review of health insurance, board concern, which is the value adjustment board appointments, district staffing plan, 3 or 4 comprehensive mental health plan, and emergency manual update if needed.
And I'm the member that represents the Value Adjustment Board, so that, I'm happy to do it again. So hopefully that'll be short.
That's going to be the one.
That's the one we're doing the appointments, right?
Right, that's the one that you decide whether or not you want to
Continue with them, or,
If not, you have to bring the name of the person that you want to.
okay,
We'd have to reach out to them and send them an email.
okay. So there may be some changes to that value adjustment board. Appointments.
also usually do that? Wasn't Ken the?
William Taylor.
Does each member have a choice, or just me? Okay. All right. Okay, because there'll probably be some changes to that board. So we'll leave that on there. And then we'll stop right there. We'll come back and look at this again. And then the timeline for Ray and Associates, we've already established that. Are we continuing that same timeline? Okay. Because of this situation, I think that those meetings need to be either Zoom or Skyped in versus them coming down and
But we'll all be here.
presenting.
We're here and we'll zoom in on our. whatever.
Isn't it Tuesday?
No,
When is the next meeting?
30th.
Monday.
31st.
31st?
Tuesday, is
So
it
it is
30st?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday then.
Tuesday at 9?
Tuesday?
Is it Tuesday at 9?
9 o'clock,
Yeah.
right here.
Okay, so are we in agreement with that? That they can do it through Skype?
that's fine.
I mean Zoom or whatever it is. That's how they did the last one anyway, but, we don't need to be putting anybody on airplanes or anything like that. So we're gonna have to we're gonna have to consider, guys, this whole process is gonna kind of be changed depending on how long the situation goes.
The
Even,
situation's fixing to end. I think we're real close to the end. I think we're all going back to work. I think everybody's going back around the 16th.
I'm, even if it ends, listen, even if it ends tomorrow, I'm still taking precautions on certain things, because it's still out there. So, we still need to, yeah.
The president said, what did he say about Easter? He's gonna have everybody pretty much back.
I
Okay,
think it just depends on what happens.
right. Marion County is still going up.
If we do
So-
what we're supposed to do and stay home and, you know.
Right.
keep
They've got the
spring
drugs now
breakers
that can treat,
home.
well, what they're saying now is it's really like, once they have a drug, an antiviral drug, then it's just like any other flu, because they have something
Right.
that'll take care of it, so.
Okay, so, our, student disciplinary matters. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through March 4th, 2020. Ms. Martina Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 2136 with online educational services through the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year and all of the 2020-2021 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 2137E, JD 2140, JD 2142, JD 2143E, JD 2148, JD 2149, and JD 2151 with educational services for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year and all of the 2020-21 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second?
seconded by Ms. Thrower. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Ms. Thrower. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:52 PM.